and possibly for Saturday and Sunday's responses to the park as well. To begin, this incident began after a traffic stop, and the traffic stop led to both the driver, the police officer, driver of the police car, and the passenger each seeing a firearm on Mr. McClain that led to a foot chase, and 2 shots rang out. One of those shots struck Mr. McClain in what was described by doctors at HMH at the flank of the body, which is in between the front and back, which could either be because of the angle of the officer or because the individual was beginning to turn. We do know so far is that Mr. McClain was in possession of the handgun, did have it in his waistband before he took it out. He did begin to run from the officers holding that weapon, and at one point began to turn to look at the officer behind him. So the rumors of there being a no gun on the individual is completely false. Unfortunately for the community, the wrong message has gotten out. In some way, we need to shift the criticism back to the chief of police in our department to ensure we're talking about whether we should have shot an armed person during a foot pursuit or not, and not whether he was armed, nor was there several shots to the back, or whether he was laying on the ground. Now, just to say it, some may not believe it, so therefore, over the next 48 hours, we will release our critical incident video. We hope it's in 24 hours, which would be a quick release with the redacting that we must do. So that'll be part of what we want to do to get the information out. I will be engaging the media at 3 p.m. They will see a photograph of the gun, just the gun by itself, as we prepare for the rest of the critical incident video to come out. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. Over the past week, the city manager and myself have talked about the number of guns we've seized, 7 over the last few days. Most of those were obtained from consensual and cooperative engagements with people from the public. So those who had these guns on their waistband, the officers were able to use both de-escalation and communication skills to ensure nothing more happened than the retrieval of the gun and the arrest for that gun. But each one that occurred, over 180 this year, each one of those, I read, I get contacted, I get phone called, and they keep me up. I wonder about the next engagement, the next officer-involved shooting, the next individual loses life in the community or elsewhere that is in possession of a gun. And so these become our larger issues in our community. The world has come to Pasadena. This is an officer-involved shooting during not just the pandemic, but the global social movement, that we must answer these questions. We could go to the routes from outside people coming in and travel much like Portland and Seattle and have nightly protests, or we could change our energy and begin to focus on our social issues, the socioeconomic issues plaguing our communities for decades that have led to the high increases in engagements where people have guns, and we do have some type of exchange of gunfire, seizure of a gun, or what we saw on Saturday night. So we are in a position right now as a society, as a community, to take control of this and ensure that the debate, the discussion is about whether we should have shot and not whether we shot an unarmed person. And that's very important and critical for our community. I received the text and see the emails of people wanting to burn down the police department and go to council members' homes and begin to be in places to create trouble for our community. We should have open protest and vigils, and we should be supportive of all that. However, we should not allow the destruction of our communities and destruction of our local economy by acting on things that are incorrect. So I could answer what I can in terms of questions. I will state briefly that we are conducting our criminal investigation, and this has allowed the Pasadena Police Department and myself to really talk to the public, to the media, to yourselves, and release as much information as I could. If in fact we had the sheriffs conducting our investigation, I couldn't be here today and I couldn't talk to you or release information. So we have that ability. We are asking for the district attorney's office to investigate this, as well as independent investigations that the city manager will talk about briefly that needs to occur as well. These are all equal investigations for the public to see the facts of the case and really to ensure our criticism, our debate, and our decisions are based on the facts of the case and nothing more than that.
This video is being presented to establish the conspiracy and corruption of the Pasadena Police as it relates to the Anthony McClain's investigation. This video shows an officer walking on the east side of Raymond Avenue northbound. As he looks up, there's a clear indication that there's a car parked on the northeast side of the street, and there's a body moving in front of the light. The body disappears, a vehicle, a SUV, flashes its light. As the officer passes a tree, number 1 tree, he continues to aim into the street as he passes number 2 tree, and as he gets closer, he zooms in on a black handgun. He continues to walk northbound on Raymond Avenue as though he did not see the gun. What you will see in this video is that the timer is clearly indicating that the officer, in this case, we'll call it officer number 1, had plenty of time to walk up Raymond and turn around and come back.
While fleeing the officers, video evidence captured by a local surveillance system indicated that the individual had thrown his firearm across Raymond Avenue to the west side of the street. Furthermore, a witness provided a voluntary and recorded statement confirming they were within close proximity at the time of this incident, and they saw the individual who was running from the police throw the firearm. The loaded firearm was recovered near the west curb of Raymond Avenue, adjacent to La Pintoresca Park. No other officers discharged their weapons during the incident, nor does it appear that the individual discharged any rounds from his firearm. The recovered weapon was not registered and had been assembled from different manufacturer parts with different serial numbers. The weapon was not legally assembled nor legally possessed under California's gun laws.
As the officer completed this journey down Raymond, you will also identify from the timer on the body cam that the officer's body cam captured that there was no gun in the space indicated on their exhibit or evidence list near or in front of La Pintoresca Park. Each one of these clips will show various times in between a 2 to 3 minutes time period where there's no gun in the area, as indicated by arrows that suggests that a gun was placed, that the officers planted this gun after they had picked it up